Already nervous about flying? Then this video might not help. You board a plane expecting to land in just a few hours, but what if the flight just kept going and going? No doors to run through, no one to help, just you and whatever horror is happening at 35,000 feet. These aren't your usual turbulence stories. These are the 3 terrifying horror stories that prove the real danger isn't the crash, it's what happens on the way down. I know Creepyredds isn't huge yet, but the fear you're about to feel? It's real. Sometimes the scariest tales come from the smallest voices. So watch till the end. And if you truly feel the fear, then hit that subscribe button, and I know it won't let you go without hitting that red button. I volunteered to sit next to a dead man on a plane and deeply regret it. I volunteered to sit next to the dead man because the pilot asked for help, and I was too tired, too curious, or just too polite to stay quiet. The man had died in row 43. I'd been comfortable up near first class until an anxious teenager begged to swap. A flight attendant buckled the corpse back into his window seat, draped a blue airline blanket over his torso and head, and thanked me for keeping him company on our return to New York. Molineux, his name on the boarding pass stuffed in the seat pocket, looked peaceful except for his hands. They lay on his lap, stiff and claw-shaped, as if he'd tried to hold on to life by digging his nails into the air. I avoided staring at them, fastened my own belt, and dozed. Turbulence woke me. The cabin lights were off. Snores and soft music filtered through the dark. I reached across Molineux to close the shade, then froze. I was certain that shade had already been down. Stranger still, the blanket over his chest looked twisted, as if he'd shifted. Ridiculous. I lifted a corner anyway. Blue-gray skin, a few white hairs, a button missing where the crew had tried CPR. Higher. A collar flecked with dried blood from whatever had killed him. Heart hammering, I slid the blanket completely away. His head was turned toward the window. I could see his face reflected in the plexiglass. Slack jaw, hollow cheeks, unmistakably dead, except the eyes. They moved, scanning left, right, left, as if following something outside. Before panic could set in, a woman across the aisle hissed, "Cover him. Give him some dignity." I muttered that he had moved, but another violent jolt cut me off. Coffee cups rocketed upward, passengers yelped, seatbelt signs chimed, the pilot's voice shook through the PA. "Unforecast turbulence," he said, "nothing on radar." The shaking worsened. Molineux lurched forward, his head thudding against the seat ahead, then whipped sideways, still aimed at the window. His neck was bent at an angle a living man couldn't sustain, but the eyes kept darting. Outside, the night had turned the color of bruised jade. Swirling shapes, clouds, or something less solid, slithered through the green. My stomach dropped again as the plane bucked like a roller coaster. Oxygen masks dangled, but no one screamed. Most were too stunned to make a sound. Molineux's body swung like a pendulum. On each upswing, his skull hammered the window. A spiderweb crack appeared in the inner pane. Windows aren't supposed to break, I told myself. Yet the corpse kept battering it, as though compelled. I forced my shaking hands onto his shoulders, trying to pin him back, but the dead weight and the heaving plane made him impossible to hold. The blanket slipped to the floor. His fingers grazed my arm ice cold, impossibly strong in rigor mortis. The inner pane fractured. Green light seeped through the cracks. The shapes outside pressed closer, smoky tentacles licking the glass. People were praying now, sobbing into masks. Overhead bins burst. Bags tumbled down the aisle. A flight attendant lay unconscious at my feet. Both panes shattered. An icy cyclone roared through the opening. Molyneux's head snapped out first, shoulders jamming against the frame, while the rest of him strained for the sky. Alarms blared, pressure vanished. Loose items shot toward the breach. I fumbled my mask on, eyes watering, ears screaming. His eyes, still rolling, seemed to fix on something in that emerald storm. Whatever you're looking for, take it, I thought. I unlatched his seatbelt. With a sound like wet kindling snapping, his torso collapsed enough to squeeze through. He vanished into the night, a limp marionette whisked away by invisible strings. Instantly the fog thinned. The violent shuddering eased to a dull tremor. We descended fast. Within minutes, the sky was ordinary black again, stars blinking like nothing had happened. The runway lights of JFK appeared ahead, and we landed to a convoy of flashing ambulances. Investigators later blamed a freak, weather anomaly, and debris for the blown window, the dead man's ejection, everything. Most passengers accepted that explanation. None of them had watched the corpse fight to reach the glass or seen what swam in the clouds. No one else dreams, night after night, of a gray head tumbling toward the Atlantic, eyes still searching for something only the dead can see. I've been stuck in an airplane for the past 9 hours. Something strange began happening right after takeoff. Me and Kim were flying to Spain, a short flight, about 3 hours, but we'd already been stuck at the gate for an extra hour due to some bizarre incident. Apparently, someone at baggage claim had lost it and caused all flights to be halted. No one really knew what happened. Waiting was painfully slow, with people wandering around like zombies. My mind started to feel fuzzy, and I was trying to conserve phone battery for the flight. Then finally, our gate was announced. We boarded the plane, getting seats at the far back in economy. I hate flying economy, but it was all that was left. This trip was important. I had a business meeting that could make or break the company I work for. We were carrying a secret prototype related to AI, something our company desperately wanted to get ahead on. Kim was with me, and I liked working with her. She's tall with short brown hair and always had a smile for people she liked, but social anxiety kept her from facing the judges at presentations. I'd have to do most of the talking, but I was hoping it would be fine. As we settled, the flight attendants finished their checks and called out cross-check, meaning we were ready to fly. I tried to calm Kim, telling her the flight would be over soon. She smiled weakly, but said she worried the prototype wouldn't be accepted and the trip would be wasted. The plane started taxiing, then took off normally. But as the wings lifted, I heard an odd metallic rattling from overhead compartments, like a metal ball rolling. A gnawing feeling grew in my gut, a sense that something was off, but I told myself everything was fine. We reached cruising altitude. A flight attendant slowly came down the aisle, offering drinks, moving slower than usual. When he reached us, Kim asked for orange juice, and I chose a gin and tonic, something about gin always tasting better on planes. But after my first sip, I suddenly blacked out. I have a high tolerance, so it was strange. I woke with a jolt, my head pounding and body aching from sleeping awkwardly. I looked around. Kim and the other passenger beside us were gone. The windows were fogged, and mold had started growing on the seat headrests. The air smelled awful. Vinegar, rotten eggs, and sweat. Panic started creeping in. I struggled to undo my seatbelt, which took forever, then stood up shakily. Most of the plane was empty now. I noticed some passengers left in their seats, but they looked pale, too pale, like the life had drained from them. I went to check on one man nearby and gently pushed him. To my horror, his head fell off with a sickening crunch. My stomach twisted in terror. I rushed to the bathroom and dry heaved, but nothing came up. I wasn't even hungry. Gathering myself, I decided to find the cockpit for answers. Walking through the eerily quiet cabin, the plane felt dead. I knocked on the cockpit door. No answer. I banged harder, but the door wouldn't open. Near the galley, I found a small hatch that led to the cargo hold. I shone my phone's flashlight down and saw bags scattered everywhere. Blood was dripping down the walls, fresh and dark. The scratching noise I'd heard before grew louder and closer. Suddenly, I felt hot breath on my neck and heard a low growl, but no one was there. Then I saw Kim. She was curled up in the corner of the cargo hold, but her limbs were torn off, bleeding profusely. She looked pale and fragile, but was still trying to speak. Wake up. Suddenly, everything went black again. I woke up again, laying on the floor of the cargo area. I must have hit my head so hard that I passed out. And the last thing I can remember was the hatch slamming shut and hearing something being dragged on the floor above. My head and neck hurts really bad. I have tried opening the hatch again, but it requires much more strength to open than I have right now. And what's worse is, I now know where the missing passengers are. They are down here, in a big pile of slowly drying and rotting flesh. It's really cold here as well, and my phone is at 13% now. I don't think I'm going to make it out of here. I'm really scared. Something's wrong with my flight. Something weird is happening. I took my iPad off flight mode to post this because I should have landed in Morocco by now. Actually, I should be relaxing by the pool. But my watch has stopped, and I don't know how long we've been flying. The pilot hasn't said a word for hours. I'm on holiday with my boyfriend Lars, flying from Stockholm to Morocco. The plane is huge, 2 aisles, so big it's hard to keep track of time or anything. Lars and I are stuck in the middle row with no window view. We both fell asleep early on, hoping to rest before we landed. When I woke up, my watch was dead. Lars woke up too, asking if we were there yet. Around me, everyone was waking up, checking their broken watches. The mood changed. People looked scared and confused. No turbulence, no announcements, just this weird, endless flight. Flight attendants passed by with trolleys, calling out for drink orders but ignoring questions about time or location. People tried to distract themselves with magazines and books, but the tension grew. Hours seemed to stretch endlessly. I started reading a crime novel Lars brought, but even that couldn't take my mind off how odd everything was. Then the light changed. The sun set, but it shouldn't have yet. Outside, thick black clouds blocked all sun and moonlight, like a storm but darker, almost like smoke. The father of the family behind me started banging on the cockpit door, screaming for answers. Flight attendants and most passengers just stared blankly, zoned out or quietly crying. Lars sat next to me, silent and resigned. I fell asleep again, but when I woke, the darkness outside was even heavier, like thick black smoke blotting out all light. I tried checking the news online, but the pages were scrambled and unreadable. Facebook only showed old posts, as if stuck in the past. More people fell asleep, and I noticed empty seats where passengers had been. Then, the pilot made an announcement. "Apologies for the delay caused by unexpected pit stops," he said, which made no sense because we hadn't stopped. His voice was strange, robotic almost, and he said, "We are now approaching your final stop. Good luck, Josephine." I looked at Lars. His face was changing. Features fading, freckles gone, that spark in his eyes replaced by a vacant stare. He wasn't himself anymore, like a hollow shell. Other passengers looked the same. Blank, silent, doll-like. The plane was deathly quiet. I stopped shaking Lars, scared of drawing attention. I felt completely alone. More seats were empty now, and no one was moving. We're still flying, lost in a dark sky with no sign of descent. I have no idea how long it's been. Maybe days. If you're reading this, please check the news for a flight to Marrakech on March 16th, 2012 that never landed. I'm getting sleepy again. Maybe when I wake, we'll have finally arrived.